Thanks for tuning in to Hustle and Heart. I am your host, Edie Weintraub. Today's guest is someone who blends science with soul, data with empathy, and strategy with deep human insight. Meet Christian J. Fischer, also known as the Disruptive Chef, a leadership coach, behavioral scientist, and a former hospitality executive with over 30 years in experience in helping people turn raw potential into delicious results. Christian started his journey in the world of hospitality, where he learned firsthand how to blend vision, operations, and service into memorable experiences. But over the years, he realized something powerful. Even the most talented leaders can struggle to be seen, heard, and understood. So he made it his mission to help professionals and businesses craft their voice, scale their influence, and lead with intention. Through his consulting firm, Fisher Forward, and his behavioral research, Christian helps people move from expertise to impact, whether that's through brand storytelling, sustainable leadership, or the psychology of what truly motivates people to choose, connect, and change. In this episode, we'll talk about what it takes to build a great brand that celebrates trust, how behavior shapes retail and leadership, and how showing up authentically might be your biggest business advantage. Christian, thank you so much and welcome to the show.
I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here. And it was kind of flattering hearing all of the good things. I'm not sure if I did all of that. I was just lucky.
Well, I believe that we also create our own luck. So I believe at your core, you're a very grateful individual. And so then good karma follows.
Yes. I might have worked a little more than the average person. And there might be some truth to that.
I definitely feel you on that path. So you call yourself the Disruptive Chef. How did your hospitality background shape the way that you now help leaders and brands find their flavor and stand out?
That's a really good question. And it boils down to something really simple. In the hospitality field, the whole training is flavors, learning all of that. What nobody teaches you is how to do everything else which goes with it. And if you look at how many restaurants fail, it's not because the chef is not a really good chef. Nobody ever taught him the outside of all of that. And so the Disruptive Chef came about because in my last job I did a career before I broke out on my own, I had about 40,000 people which worked for me indirectly. I had some direct reports and it didn't make a difference where I went to and who I spoke to. I realized that people were 3 things away from have a total different life. It was number one is the simplest one. What is a network or connection I can leverage or I can connect with to have a total different outcome? The second thing was they needed a simple idea. Somebody who came to them and said, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you try this? The whole idea of when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And the final thing is somebody just needs somebody who sees in them what they don't see in themselves. And we just need a cheerleader. And for me, all of these things combined started the Disruptive Chef. And we started it as I don't want to call it a joke, but we went to a really good friend of ours and said, hey, what should we do? We're doing all of this and we want to get our message out there. I will never forget this. This was on a Thursday evening, 6:00. He said, oh, it's easy, Christian. You need to do a show. I was like, okay, good. What else you got? Because I don't like the way I look. I like the way I sound on camera. I was like, what's? He says, I'm telling you, you just need to do this show. And you need to just put yourself out there. I did my very first episode. This was on a Thursday night. We did the very first episode on Monday following. And we are about 180, 190 in, plus 1,000 people. I was like, oh, this kind of took a life on our own. You have here written here, create for me. And this became our slogan because we creating conversation. I always use the example of I'm sitting at this triangle desk. And there was somebody at some point that came to somebody said, we need a triangle desk. And you know what? He connected to the Apple Watch. And when the Apple Watch stand, you need to stand up. And somebody said, bravo, that's exactly what we need. There was also 2 other people said, that's a dumb idea. Why would we need that? But it's the people which go out there and disrupt the industry. Today I'm sitting on a desk, which is triangle shaped. And when the watch tells me to stand up, I stand up. And for me, and that became all of that because we create in conversation. That became our slogan.
I love that. What was most meaningful in what you just shared is that you look for things that in people that they don't see themselves. And to me, that is just so beautiful. And I find that we have that in common. And sometimes it takes a little while to find that true gem and, let people know that it's there, it's inside of them. So I appreciate you sharing that.
And I love that. And for me, it's so easy for anybody from the outside to see that. And it's hard for us. when we in a certain situation, that it's really hard for us to say, you know, what Edie just said makes so much sense, but I know that's not me. And a half hour from now, oh, Edie is so right. And a day from now, I was like, she knew it. How did come? I didn't see it. And it's as simple as that. And I honestly feel if it's a human need, a human psychology, it doesn't matter. It's always easier from somebody else to see it. We just need to be open to hear it. And that's the second thing which goes with it. It's great that we help people in growing and doing what we do. And I said it earlier, because you need to wait until the student is ready, because then the teacher, you will realize, was always there. And the whole saying goes, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I think that the teacher's always there. You just never seen it. And that became our slogan of how we support the industry.
I think that's a beautiful segue into our next question. So, what do you think is often holding entrepreneurs, small business owners back from being receptive to getting feedback or leaning into their strengths and expand a little bit more on that?
And that's a really good question. And because we talk about this often, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you start something, and there's a very good chance you started out on your own and you went all in on the things you're great at. And there was this plateau where you felt, in order for me to grow, I need to do something else. So you hire somebody. And for me, that was a hard learning curve, because I hired somebody and I said, I don't want to tell you what to do, because if I tell you what to do, I will get what I always had. I want you. The reason I brought you in was for 3 reasons. I totally feel that you connect with who we are as an organization, who we are, and what we want to build. The second thing is, I have a lot of respect from you. And the third thing is, for me, is you came here, and I'm still a big believer, is when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And she kind of looked at me, and 2 days later, she came in our boardroom and she said to me, I think what we need to do. And for me, it was like, she said,
Magic.
well,
She said, we, my favorite word.
so if you ask me, what is that thing? Is not to control all of the circumstances. There was a new study which came out from Harvard on all of the restaurants which failed. So they interviewed the people which failed, and they asked them, why do you think you failed? And the first thing was where they said, my idea was just so far in advance. I had to sell and give everybody the idea about my idea. I'm not sure if that's the reason. But the second thing was where people felt, hey, I just ran out of cash. I couldn't carry it anymore. And the third thing was where they said, it was so alone. I didn't know who to go to and have a conversation. And all the people I spoke to didn't understand me. And for me, I was like, wow, that is why we do what we do, is because of that. It's as simple as that. If this is the 3 reasons what people feel after they fail, and for me, this is cross-universal. It doesn't matter if you sell windows, if you sell cars, or if you pave driveways, or if you're in a restaurant business. Because if you feel like this, we as humans are meant to be with other people, and we're not meant to be alone. And that's, for me, became the thing of everything. So if you ask me, what is the thing, the one thing, what makes people fail, it's exactly that. They
It's
think they
interesting.
are alone, and they have nobody else they can talk to.
In the 3 conversations you just mentioned, you said I and me, and you hadn't gotten to the we. And so, as much as, I was in high school, and rather than going to lunch, I would go to the library and I would get my homework done. And I wanted to know that it was out of the way, because if I wanted to come back to it later, I've already completed the task. What's the story with the 3 little pigs, right? I'm building out of bricks. My friends are playing with straw and other things. I think that we forget that there are others that could be on this journey with us, and it is much more fun to do it together than it is to do it alone.
Totally. Couldn't agree with you more. And for me, now when I see a restaurant fail, and I would say to them, hey, who was your go-to? And they said, I really didn't have anybody. What do you mean? You did it all on your own? Yeah, I kind of hustled at it, and I just kind of grew apart from the people which are really important to me. And for me, it shows me exactly why restaurants fail.
Great segue for us. So at Terra Alma, we curate places where people gather and connect. What behavior patterns should real estate developers or restaurants, what should they be paying attention to in designing spaces that foster belonging?
I love this question. It's a really, really good question. And it's as simple as that. Not a real estate person. You're not a designer. And it's really simple. Think of yourself as, I am an agent, or whatever you want to call yourself, for decision makers. So I'm here to cement decisions. I'm here to cement a momental, whatever you want to call it, process. Because at the end of the day, we are decision makers. And we're not just decision makers, we're memory makers. And at the end of the day, that's all it is. So if I'm a real estate guy, no, I'm an architect of memories. Oh, you're a chef? No, no, no. I'm an architect of memories. You're a podcaster? No, no, no. I'm an architect of memories because that's the end of the day, that's all we are.
I've also heard the term cultural influencer, which I like as well. So you work with professionals to build influence and trust, as you were just talking about, like architecting memories. What advice would you like to give some business owners who want to be a local thought leader and not just a business owner?
I love that. Good question. And for me, it's actually really simple. That's the hardest thing for me I had to learn is I came to this and saying, the industry needs this. I know they need it. That was a portion of what they needed. And so if there's one thing, it doesn't matter what you do, go all the way in and talk to everybody about the industry, ask everybody about the industry. Because if you really get to know an industry by heart, by feeling, what makes it go, it's so much easier to market that. We call it clarity in our tool because it's a really simple thing. It's the whole process we have. We call it 7 levels deep. And where we ask a question 7 times. And the first 4 or 5 times, it's, it comes from here. After the 4th time, it comes from here. And if you really peel it all back, the reason I do today was because I did this exercise. And for me, it was simple because I have multiple international adopted children. And my kids never had choices. They never had a choice that the parents gave them up. They never had a choice in what orphanage they were living. They never had a choice when they get up, when they go to bed, what to eat, what to not to eat, what to learn, what do you do in your free time. And then there's the strange people, which look different, sound different, smell different, bring you on a plane, bring you to a whole different country. So for me, the reason I do what I do is because I want my kids to have choices. And for me, that's when I peel it all back, this is it. Because they were never allowed to be themselves. That's why I do what I do.
Thank you for sharing that story. What a beautiful being you are for bringing them into this world. How many kids do you have?
We have 4.
And how old are they?
So 27, the oldest, youngest is 14. And we adopted them. They were 8, 9 as we adopted them.
All at the same time, or did you grow
No, different.
your family slowly? Okay.
Yes. So there were different ages. And for me, if I do that exercise myself, so today, if I have a big decision to make, I do it. Write it down. Why is this important to you? Why is this important to me? And it kind of cuts through what this wants to tell me, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that this thing talks to us. Because even if you look from a medical field, the heart is grown before the brain. They call the heart the second brain. So therefore, I trust this thing. And so for me, on purpose today, and you and I spoke about this before, by the way, to the listeners out there. She's amazingly good at what she does, okay? We did what we call ethical stalking. We need a better name for that, but that's what we did. And for 9 weeks, we tried to find something wrong in what she does, and we didn't. Because what we love about Edie is that the same Edie showed up everywhere we went, and there was the same message. We absolutely love that about you. And for me, if you peel it all back, we want to be around people which are like us. We want to be around people which I just love hanging out with. And for me personally, Miss Edie, I would love to hang out with you, okay? And because then business is easy. If I have to watch everything I do, if I don't really trust you, business is hard. So for me, and we teach this our client, listen to this first before it goes up here. This needs to have something to do with it, but start out. If you don't feel right and you feel like there's something off, there's a very good chance there is. And this is as simple as that.
Sure, our intuition is everything. As I've been leaning into working with more small businesses, as well as contemplating incremental retail in new residential developments, I appreciate the technology and the tools, right? You and I are not in the same city, but we're able to communicate, we're able to connect. But there is nothing like in-person connection because, and it's not so much your brain, as we were talking about earlier, it's very much your heart. There's this electromagnetism that gets refueled when one another gets to see each other, which is why I'm very bullish and love this particular book. I'll share it with you. It's called The Future is Analog.
Love that. Yes.
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 And for me, you can tell when I like a book. Look how many dog-eared pages are on this book. And so I just started sharing a couple of quotes that I highlighted with just TikTok or Instagram or whatever, because I fought the title for the longest time because I thought, oh, we have all these tools, everything, it's very easy, but I'm very bullish on in-person connection. And that's why I've leaned into restaurants and entertainments because they bring we together. And that is just something that you can't do online. It's great to have this tool, but inevitably we will connect in person and it'll be that much more
Absolutely.
meaningful.
I love that because my takeaway, and by the way, amazing book. Anybody needs to get it. Is that we so overrelated yet underconnected. And what you just said is right, 100% right.
So let's get back to our topic here. It's visionary and grounded leaders. So how can you encourage one to make bold moves, but also remain rooted?
That's a really good question. And that's probably at the heart of what we do. We do 3 exercises with all of our clients. The first one I shared with you is where we go the 7 levels deep. The second one for us is who are the people which are most important around you? And it doesn't matter how successful you are if they are not involved, if they don't see the same vision as you do, if that's not someone connected, it's not going to work. And the third thing for me, which is really simple, is something we call the success loop. And this has 4 things. And we all get stuck into. And it's really simple. It's what makes successful people successful and people which are not successful, what keeps them at that place. And we call this the success loop. And for me, if we do those 3 exercises and do it intentionally, not just doing it, Christian said I need to do it, do it intentionally. It will ground you on, doesn't matter what you want to do. It will ground you on what is my real purpose. Because what I see that most of the businesses struggle, they want to be everything to everybody. And for me, I was there. And for me, as I started peeling back, as I started working on this, because if this, your business is successful, it's because of you. If the business is not because of you, if the business has problems, it's because of you. So for me, I learned in order for my things to get better, I needed to get better. And for me, as I started peeling it down, it was as simple as that. It's easy to communicate when you're clear, when you know exactly this is the impact I want to have for you. It's easy to communicate. It's easy to get you into my sphere of influence. It's easy for me to hit on targets where I speak generally. And you said, I can't believe he talked to me like that. And then somebody else goes, but he didn't ever say a word to you, but I know he meant me, because it's easy. And so if you're asking me what we do more for our clients, for them, they get really clear of what they want to do and the impact they want to leave. And then it's easy to work from there.
What is your timeline? I mean, how quickly have you been able to see results? And I'm sure it goes back to the people who are open and receptive are able to grow that much faster, whereas ones maybe who are a little bit not quite ready take.
Our internal goal is 100 days. And so this is our thing. We want to get you to see or act a certain way in 100 days. And what we found, if you do it sooner, it comes from here, not from here. Okay. And so it's simple for us. So 100 is our internal goal for that. But when we sign a client, we sign you for a full year, because then you have the opportunity to be part of our cycle 3 times. And we found this is successful because when you're done with our program, we invite you to our mastermind. And when you're in a room where everybody's looking out for my best interest, everybody's looking out for me to succeed, if everybody's looking out for me to do better, for some people it's really hard. And the people which really take and run with it, they're saying, now nothing is impossible for me. I can do anything. And for us, that's how most of our businesses started. We're doing so many other things on the side. We have a publishing company where we help people write a book in 90 days or faster. It's because that became our time cycle. And so if you're asking me, what is the time? I would love for you to be done at 100 days, but you have 300 to really have it ingrained. Our internal measurement is 100 days.
I think that's a good tool and a goal to focus on. There's a restaurant that I love going to in Atlanta, and it's called The Consulate. And every 90 days, a portion of the menu changes. And they have a spin party, and whoever lands on a particular country, and they don't land on the same country twice. So if it's the water, the US, or something they've been to before, you have to spin again. So, of course, I got up there to spin one time, and I was focused on the concentration where most countries are. It was really fun because it gives the chef something to look forward to. So for that 90 days, she's studying the culture, the cuisine, the ingredients, because she's concurrently still running the dishes that are on the main portion of the menu, which is considered the resident. And
I
then the
love that.
visa is the new country Sue's bringing in. So I think it's a fascinating skill to be able to study that country, bring in those dishes, and still execute on the ones that she already had. So I agree with you that 90 days, 100 days is prime time.
Yeah, I love that, by the way. That's a phenomenal idea for our restaurant because I'm an honest believer. If you want to learn something, you need to teach it because if you teach it, you look at it totally different. And having that knowledge about a dish and going in that deep, it's really cool. Love it. Love it. We need one of them here.
We'll work on that. So, what would you say are the most common mindset shifts that help unlock growth? Because I know it's hard to kind of get people to be a little bit self reflective or to figure out a way to best communicate to them something that they are not seeing. Because I find often too, there's a lot of people who are in their business and they're not allowing themselves the time to step back and be reflective and look at what could be changed for the better. How are you encouraging those that opening?
So it's really interesting. So for us, we laugh about it because we have kind of 10 things, but for me, let me run through what the 10 are. And they're actually really simple. The first one is you need to understand, you clear where you want to go. So we call it understanding powerful growth, number one. And because if I understand this, everything else is clear. And two is we talk about clarity. We call it the clarity code. So fast two is the clarity code. Three is you need to discover your unique value proposition. And if you're in a restaurant, especially, what is my value proposition? I loved what you just said earlier, that somebody's doing that menu thing for, and kind of figuring out these are the 90-day dishes. I absolutely love that. And then is give it integrity. We call it setting goals intentionally. Because if you do a goal at the beginning of the year, and you don't look at it again, it's not a goal, it's a wish list. Because for me, a goal is something I'm going to strive for, I want to go for, and want to do every single day. So for us, goal is something you need to do consistently. Then you need to have purpose-driven drive, and that is you need to look at how to bring other people into your world, and we call it that you want to have purpose-driven teams. And for us, 6 is the simplest one. Is we need to start communicating more effectively, and we need to share what is our purpose. 7 is really again about that strategies for whatever your sustainable growth is, and then we moving into 8, and now we're getting into the finishing is overcoming challenges, because when you grow and you have a growth journey, there's always stuff coming up and you need to find a way to overcome them. So we kind of added this into it. And then for us, the last 2 one is you need to measure your impact and your success. And it's as simple as that, because if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. You probably heard this said. And then the final thing for us is really simple. What is your future purposeful growth? Because if I'm successful today and I said, hey, we started out with purposeful growth. If you notice that we have it, understanding purposeful growth is our number 1. And our 10 is the future of purposeful growth. Because if I can look back at 1 and align it with 10, it's easy and it's clear, because you know exactly why you did certain things and why you didn't do certain things. And for me, that's as simple as that.
I love the data part of it, because as much as I have all these tools and you can measure so much, there is that science meets the art, right? Because it's not all just zeros and ones. So how do you bridge the data and the emotion, and what metrics or signals are you looking at and tracking to help monitor the ultimate success?
Yeah, absolutely agreed. Absolutely agreed. And that was the hardest thing for me. I struggled. Listen, all of this came about because I struggled with it.
Of course.
I don't, thank God, nobody else had problems with purpose-driven decision making. I would, it's just me. Why can't I? Me. But when you kind of peel back the layers and look at it, why did I do certain things? Is I protected something. And for me, it was, I didn't want anybody to look at me as a failure. And it was my biggest single thing which held me back, because I didn't do certain things because I was like, no, I can't do this because people don't perceive me like that. I can do that. No. We need to find a way around it. Okay. You know what the way around it is? Is the land of nowhere. And then for me, that was the hardest thing to learn, because for the longest time when he came to my friends and said, hey, what does Christian do for business? I'm not really sure. Nobody knew, because I was like, they didn't look at me this way. And so for me, that was the single biggest impact maker.
It's very helpful to hear, and also allowed you to be self-reflective, right? Because I don't know what my parents did with me, but I feel like I can take over the world, right? I can do anything. There's no ceiling, there's no walls. And if there are, I find this little crack and I just continue to pull it open and I just walk right through. The first role that I had in my current industry is I had a warm introduction to a couple of people. And so I ultimately landed on communicating with 5. And I said, I'm going to work here. They're going to mentor me. They're going to teach me the industry. So every single month, without fail, for 18 months, I sent an email. I dropped off a card. I drop off, a book, or I'd send an article in the mail. And I did it old school, just with postage stamps, because, email is so popular. I need to do something that's going to get their attention. So 5 people for 18 months. And they got to the 18 months and they realized Edie's just not going to give up. She doesn't hear the word no. So I really think that her level of follow-up is something that we really need to foster, and we should bring her in. So that is my skill. I find the crack and I just pull it wide open. I don't care if it takes me 18 months or 3 years, it's happening.
Yeah, absolutely love that.
So I want to hear a little bit more about this book work that you're doing. So as shaping brands, helping people write books, tell us your backstory in regards to storytelling and how important that is.
So my book story is simple. I work for a company which makes cookies. And if you pick up their cookie cookbooks, somebody wrote them. And then I said, I need to write a book on my own. I wrote my first book for 9 years. And it was my love letter to my home country of Austria. And I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning. My wife says to me, what are you doing up? I was like, I'm editing. I'm just can't get the margins through. Okay. She says, you need to hire somebody. No.
9 years, Christian, 9 years you worked on this. Okay. Okay. Just making sure.
I was like, no. I'm so close. I know I can finish it. 6 months later, what are you doing? Oh, I'm editing. I'm really close. I know. She said, you need to hire some. I hired somebody. Cost me $3,000. I always tell the story. And I said, hey, my book is done. I just need you to show me the format. Okay, show me what it is. I said, oh, see, that says 0.01. Oh, you need to go to 1.01121. And then submit it. Boom, and 15 minutes. And I was like, I'm such a, And then he says, what else do you need from me? No, I don't need anything else from you. Because I got so caught up in trying to make the book that I missed the simplest thing. What we found, people get stuck by writing a book in 3 spots. The first one is, I want to tell this, and I don't know how to bundle it up. And what we find with most of the people which we have in our book course, we realized that book is 4 books, 5 books, because the way people consume books today is different. Number one. The second thing is, they get to a certain point and then, whatever you want to call it, they don't pay attention to it. And they say, I do it next week, and the next week becomes 2 years from now. So we help them there because we want them to stay consistent on writing. And the final thing is what we call the last miles, or the writer mile, is it gets really confusing. Hardcover, softcover, international publishing, all of ISBN numbers and all of the things you need to do. So we help them through that. And so I wrote my first book, and I went to a friend of mine. I was like, you won't believe I was on with this guy 15 minutes. It was probably 7 minutes, but I tell everybody 15 minutes so I don't feel like a fool.
Of course, for $3,000. Yes.
And then he said to me, the rest of the course is for free. I never really looked at it because all I needed for him to show me the thing. And somebody said, why didn't you do this yourself? I was like, it took me 9 years, And we have our number one student, the person which wrote 9 books with us. His first book is 7 years old. He never finished it on purpose. He says, because I know, and because if I finish it now, Christian is right, and I won't give him the satisfaction. But he wrote 7 other books.
Right.
And so for us, it became, I did this program. I did it for my friends during COVID at the time. I was like, hey, now is a perfect time to write a book. And then somebody said, oh, you need to do a course. Hey, I don't know how to do a course. And then now we have almost 500 people went through the program. And we did only cookbooks at first, but now we do some other stuff. So now we have officially a publishing company. So we bought a publishing company 4 years ago. We have a marketing piece and everything which goes with it. Now we had a big deal. But as we started this out, I always tell the story, it took me 9 years to make 3 clicks on top to get the margins to where it needed to go. And for me, it was as you're 3 clicks away from the book. For me, and the reason we started the book is simple. Because it's not about the book. If you do something consistently all the time and you kind of are in, when you talk about your book, people perceive it differently because you are a lot clearer what your book is all about, because the writing process made you do that. And then I honestly believe it doesn't really matter if you ever sell a single book, because having a book will totally change your life. We just our last person, we did a restaurant book, and he had these ideas. He says, Christian, I collected over the last 17 years all of the things what made me successful. So we did the book for him, and he says, oh, I want to sell 1,000 books a week on this. So I seen him the other day. He says, I sold 400 books, but I was invited to speak 19 times. Somebody asked me to go in a partnership with him in my restaurant. All of these things happened because of the book. And he said, oh, crap, you told me that. And then you could see the aha moment. I said, it's not about the book. It's the person you become post-book. So everybody should write a book. And our goal is over the next 10 years, we want to help 1 million people write a book. And
I
that's
love
our goal.
that. Well, good. Sign me up. I'm in. I've been debating whether or not it's book or TED Talk. And I think the
We can, we
book,
can, help- we can help with that too, because a book can get you in front of the line, just saying that. And when you have a book, you gave your thing a lot of thought to fit it into a certain spot. It makes your TED Talks a lot easier. And we have a good friend of ours who did 7 TEDx talks. And we literally talked to him just before I came onto this, because I went to him and I said, hey, I have this speech I need to give on the 13th. What should I talk about? He says, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Talk about you. No. What else you got? You know, it's the old, yeah. So we're going to speak about me and all of the things we want to do for the industry and invite people in our world. And that's our program.
and you're going back to we again. So thank you for bringing us back full circle. So I'm curious because you've coached people across various industries, obviously, starting with culinary, but also different cultures. What traits do you think successful change makers have in common, regardless of, what they sell or what they build? What
It's
are
just
those
such a good
commonalities?
question. So for me, I also learned the problem doesn't change. It just changes names and faces. Okay. The problem is the same. There's 6 problems. But for me, the single biggest thing is a learner's mindset. And when you can adopt that, is the whole idea. And you always preach about this. If your audience knows about that, because the whole philosophy is when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And you know what? When the teacher knows that he did the right job, is that he knows that he will be a lifelong student. And it's as simple as that. When you sit here and say, I know there's so much more I need to learn, there's so much more I can teach, there's so much more I need to do, and I don't need to do it on my own. I can find myself somebody, help me shorten my learning curve. So if you ask me what is the single thing, is a learner's mindset. I honestly believe a learner's mindset doesn't care what is your financial background or what is your social background or anything else. You will always be successful because that one skill is going to leverage you to do amazing things. And it might take a little bit longer, or you need to ask for somebody for help. And that's the second thing. We just need to do, because we always feel like we are bother to somebody if we ask them for help. So learner's mindset. And I put the second one on it. Just ask, because we create a conversation.
When I was contemplating a headline for my newsletter on LinkedIn, I thought, okay, what makes me unique? And I thought, I'm just insatiably curious. I'm always reading, and the kids are going, Mom, come watch the show with us. And I said, but I got to finish this chapter. I'm so invested in getting, to complete this. And you can see my love of books back here. For those who are on audio, I'm pointing to my bookshelf, which is kind of a rainbow of the ones that I go back and read again.
And for me, I can't focus, but it's so color coordinated. It's awesome. It's awesome.
It is my book rainbow in a way.
I love that. I love that.
The title of my newsletter on LinkedIn is called Insatiably Curious. So I believe that we are our own best investment, and no one can ever take that away from you.
I love that. I love that. And somebody once told me that it's all about hustle and hard. So that's really what this is all about. And for me and to our listeners today, there's 2 things. May I brag
Course,
about
please.
me a little bit? So I always said to my team, there's 2 things we absolutely love about you, is because you just said it, is because you always ask really good questions. And as we started diving into an ethical stocking, we need a better name for that, and listen to that, I was like, that's a really good question. And then she said, oh, that's a really good idea. I wrote it down too. And so it became kind of the thing. So for me, in a way, you became a teacher for me, because there were so many things you do really, really well. The second thing is what we absolutely love about you is you, because it doesn't matter what somebody says, I'm here because I fell in love with you. I give to you because I fell in love with you. I respect you. That's why we're doing this thing. And for me, everybody knows in my office, I was looking forward to this all week. And I was like, how can I do it? Because it doesn't matter. And I always use the pizza restaurant as an example. If you have a pizza restaurant in your idea town, I want you to honestly tell me why you going to this pizza restaurant. It's not because the pizza is better than anybody else's. Because when you go in, they recognize you by name, they have a conversation with you, and you feel like it's an extension of who I am, and it's an extension of my home. And we sometimes forget that. And you have the innate ability to be that pizza for me, that I feel like when I'm here, I should have been here a long time ago. I shouldn't listen to you a lot longer, and shame on me, I didn't. And any of our audience here, you need to share this podcast with as many people as you know, because for me, I wish somebody would have shared that with me. So don't care what they think. And that's what I love about Miss Edie Weintraub.
Thank you so much. You're such a sweetheart. Well, so on that note, beyond the amazing accolades, thank you. If you could leave one message with the next generation of leaders, entrepreneurs, placemakers, what would it be?
It's really simple. Find your tribe, find your people, find that one person which excites you. And that person might be somebody in your circle, or it might be somebody virtually. It doesn't really matter. And don't ethical stalk it like we do. Just follow them. You don't need to stalk them. It's weird. And you just, for me, it's a simple thing. I can listen. The whole idea, I always think of a brain of our old CD. If I play good music, good stuff in, good stuff out. And if I listen to crappy music, stuff in, crappy come out. So it's really simple. And for me, what you do here, it really embodies all of that. And I love your thing with the hustle and heart, because at the end of the day, if you do and combine that, that's exactly what all of this is. And for me, I'm really honored to have the opportunity to be here with you today.
Really appreciate your time. And I'm especially inspired by how you focus on people and intention and finding what is good in every individual you come across. To our listeners, if today's episode opened your eyes to new ways of thinking, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us amplify the voices, creating a more inclusive, thoughtful, and thriving places. Until next time, keep building boldly, keep asking better questions, and always lead with hustle and heart. And Christian, before we go, would you do us the honor?
That's something really big I want to tell you.
Please bring it on.
Go out there and hustle and heart. And thanks for being here today.